Do, 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 do. Oh, we're live. So, hey, everybody, welcome. It's Thursday night, and that means it must be time for this news. Hi, everybody. I'm Tony Solo. This is this news, Snark Alec news, not fake news, real news. And with me, as usual, is my co-host, Mr. Dylan. Say hi, Dylan.
Hello. It's actually kind of funny because I've got this. Whenever a notification comes up, it slides over from YouTube, and since I subscribe to you, I have your notification that the snooze is now live. It's right here at the bottom.
That's. Are you talking about like that Windows stuff?
Yeah,
I gotta get. I gotta mess with my computer because I was doing something the other day and something popped up. So like I just popped in my Gmail account and now I get notifications every time I get a Gmail there. And then when I click that notification, it wants to open up the Windows Mail app on my computer. And I don't want to use the Mail app. I want to go to Gmail and open up my Gmail on Gmail. I don't need no stupid freaking app to do it, but it's annoying. But the notifications are annoying.
I just thought it was funny that it comes on as soon as you went live. It's like Tony Solo or actually Anthony Nardo is live, and I was like, oh cool, I'm doing that right now.
Like it was a mystery to you because guess what? Guess who's there? Oh yeah, that's right. If I didn't know where I was, I'm right here. Yeah, don't forget to turn off your location services because you'd never know if it knows where you are. You know.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Yep. So it's interesting. Tomorrow is the first Friday the 13th in October in a while. So those are always kind of interesting, you know. Just throw it out there. Friday the 13th in October is always, you know, you get the combination of the superstitious stuff and the creepy Jason-esque type of things and Halloween, and it's all kind of googly mooglied.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Oh, that's why. Friday the 13th is always an interesting day for me at work because I always say I don't want any installations. I don't want, you know, I want to like, because it doesn't need to be a 13th for Friday to be a bad day to do those things.
Right.
And, you know, with the added pressure of putting a 13 on it, it's just, I don't want any part of it. But yeah. I mean, I didn't realize, like, I don't keep track of the Friday the 13th, and I would guess that October would be like a month for Friday the 13th for that eeriness. Like, it makes it triply or 13 times more creepy to have it in October than
yeah, they're actually, it's funny, they decide because of that they're opening this new like haunted attraction, the first time it's ever been in Colombia, called Carnival, which is like a haunted carnival type of thing, but they're also doing a whole bunch of other stuff. But they decided to wait. All the other haunted houses in the area and up into Pennsylvania and stuff like that have been open now for weeks, but now this one is just opening because it's, hey, it's Friday the 13th and it's cool and it's brand new, and we'll see what happens with that. It's like, I was hearing about it. It's a haunted like carnival, but then at the same time, off to the side, they've got like bands and they've got DJs, and then they've got like a family fest area. The kids aren't under 10. Kids under 10 are not allowed to go to Carnival, but they can go and play in the other area. It's interesting. I don't think I'll do it because I don't do these haunted houses. But how about you, Tony? You ever do haunted houses?
Well, we used to do Fright Fest in Six Flags over here by me, and they screwed that all up. And I'll give you some details. Some pretty decent haunted hay rides around here. But one of the things that I want to do, and I'm probably not going to do it this year, I might do it next year, is at Eastern State where we had the Snark Stock. They do something over there, and they've actually upped it with makeup and they put ghouls in the cells and stuff like that. So there's a premium thing that you can pay for, which is supposed to be really like, if you come out of there, if you don't have poop in your pants, you're literally blind, deaf, you have no senses. You can't see, you can't smell, and you can't hear anything, and you were able to get through there without soiling your own clothes. I think they're doing something at Penhurst too, because I've heard stuff on the radio around here, and you might even get the same kind of ads, because you're not that far off. I could see them maybe advertising down your way. But then, we've got Dorney Park. I don't know if they do anything in Hershey, but we get the Dorney Park ads. And there's a whole bunch of little things in the area. But I don't do Fright Fest anymore because it used to all be free. They used to have a nice hayride. They used to have these haunted trails you can walk on now. Now, there's areas that you can go to and you can see spooky things and stuff, but for the most part they've got several trails and you have to pay a premium to go down there and get scared. So on top of paying for the season pass or entrance into the park, which is not cheap, now you have to pay all these added fees and extras, and it just it really did bother me. So I don't do that. I'd rather, go someplace and give them $12 to get on a hayride and do that. But I've done them. I've never done a haunted house per se, though. I would love to do that, but I've done the walking trails and the hayrides.
Okay. Yeah, it was never anything that really interested me that much. There's one up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which we get a lot of advertisement for. It's like Scream-a-thon or whatever. It's one of the biggest ones, and it was when like the Travel Channel did their top 10 haunted attractions for Halloween. It was like number 2 or something like that. So it was up there pretty good. They've got like 3 or 4 different ones, but every year you can tell. I mean, right around September, all like the fast food joints have the little ads that come in, the little unfolding flyer comes out with, says, hey, come to see this and do this, and this is where it is, and stuff like that. So it's pretty wild. So
yeah.
Yep.
So well, this is also the time of year for the pumpkin picking too. So have you guys done that yet?
No, we haven't. You see, this October's been really weird. I mean, with the temperature being the way it is and just things happening right now, I haven't gotten in the spirit yet. I'm hoping maybe this weekend it's kind of dreary, kind of cold, kind of rainy this weekend. I think we've got some plans. We're going to do some stuff, I think, Saturday. So maybe we'll get back into it then. So, but yeah, we haven't, but we have done it before. There's a whole bunch of really, there's ones right down the street from us. We've gone to one over in like near DC where where Dawn's family is. There's like a nice little farm over there that has like a nice Halloween theme type of thing, and you can pick pumpkins, stuff like that. There's some really nice ones too. Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, have you seen and we didn't even get to the birthdays yet, but we can keep on going with this. There are in this area, and I'm sure down by you also, is some really elaborate corn mazes. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about something on the news this morning that I was like, yeah, there's something wrong here. Some kid, and this happened out in Utah, family goes to a corn maze and goes home and leaves like a 3-year-old kid in the maze, and the kid's in the maze all overnight, and they don't find them till the next morning, and like, look, I know you, okay, and I hope you know me. Like, if I went anywhere with my kids when they were that young, especially because the kids don't outnumber my wife and I, and your kids don't outnumber you guys, it's not hard to keep track of 2 kids. If you've got 20 kids, I could understand, but if you've got 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, it's not hard to keep track of all of them, especially if you're in a corn maze, but there's some really elaborate corn mazes, like I was saying, where you almost need a map to get through them. And they seriously, I think what they do is like they get a picture and they like project it onto their land, and then they trim it down so it looks like Sesame Street or something like that. Some really elaborate stuff around here. Not everybody does it, but there's several places that are doing that. Yeah. And we were gonna go this weekend, but then I think some stuff happened with our schedule, but it also rained a lot this week, so I'm like, I don't want to go out into no pumpkin patch that's like smelly and stinky and muddy. I mean, I go out with my boots on anyway, but Hey, my grass was just starting to turn a nice shade of brown, and then we had all that rain this week. Um, so yeah, we haven't had that. Plus, um, there's been a couple of things that happened around here. I could tell you stories about my refrigerator. Sears sucks. And maybe if we have time, I'll talk to you and I'll let you know about that. But I might let you know about that offline.
Right.
It really, really, really annoyed me big time.
Well, I mean,
Big league.
yeah, bigly. Yeah, it's interesting. The Sears is having such problems right now in our area. I guess is in your area maybe as well. They've shut down a number of stores in our area. There's one that's over in Hunt Valley, which is only about 20 minutes from here. They shut it down. It's closed now, and it's odd because it's part of a bigger town center, and you think that maybe that might be one of the ones if they're going to keep some, that would be one because it's connected to like a Wegmans and a nice Valley Center area with a bunch of different standalone shops. You get lots of people over there, but it shut down, and it's like okay.
Okay. Well, before we get to the birthdays, I'll tell you what happened.
Okay.
My refrigerator started leaking. Okay. My refrigerator has an ice maker and it has one of those water dispensers in it. So, we'd only see a leak if you use the water dispenser. So I pull the refrigerator out, and there's a couple of plastic tubes. I'm going to call them hoses. There's 3 of them that run up the back of the refrigerator because the water filter's inside at the top. Now, some people that have a filter have it in line and they actually have to pull out the refrigerator or they have to get to the back to change their filter. I do mine from the front. So the water comes all the way up and then goes wherever it's got to go, unless one of the hoses has a crack in it and then it shoots it on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get a puddle on the floor. So me being a person that's not afraid to fix things, goes online and finds a really shitty version of their parts diagram on their website. It's really crappy. And looks at the parts. There's 3 hoses. And I can't differentiate between what is what because the parts diagram is so bad. But there's 3 hoses back there in this one spot. So I said, you know something? I'm going to order all 3. One hose was $4.64. Another hose was $6.89. And another hose was $11.97. So we're not breaking the bank here.
Right.
Okay. Because my wife was like, how much do you think that would cost for someone to fix it? I said, at least $150 because we're paying for someone to walk in the door, you know, and then it probably cost us about $200 to get it fixed. Parts with the $7.99 shipping, $32 and change. That's not bad.
No.
Okay. So I order the hose. I order the hoses. All right. So I get a bag and they send me 2 of the same hoses. So I have to call them up and I say, you need to send me this hose. Right. So, and now meanwhile, this is my fault. But then at the end of the story, you'll realize why I was pissed off. They sent me the other hose, but I couldn't wait. So I had 3 hoses, but 2 were duplicates. 2 were exactly the same. So I said, maybe I got the one I need. And it turned out that I did. Because 2 of the hoses back there are identically the same, but they have 2 different part numbers. If I ordered the one part number, it was $4 and change, $4.62. If I ordered the other part number, and here's what happened. I had 2 bags that had the same hose in it, and they had the same part number on the top, this big sticker, 602. The 602 was the $4 and change part. But then I looked at one of the other bags, and it had this smaller sticker on the bottom that had the other part number. Wait a second. Are you telling me all they did was slap this other smaller sticker on this bag, and now it becomes an $11 part number? So I spent $32 to fix my refrigerator when, in fact, had I known the difference between the things, it potentially And now, meanwhile, first of all, 3 different hoses. And I say 3 different hoses because they had 3 different part numbers. 2 of the hoses were the same. Why didn't they have the same part number for 2 hoses? I don't know. I didn't know any better. They ripped me off. This is why I'm pissed off.
Okay.
This is why I'm pissed off, because I could have ordered 2 of the $4 hoses and they were exactly the same based on the part number on the bag. The only difference between one bag and the other was the second bag had a smaller part number on the bottom that matched the other hose, but it was the same hose. So instead of costing me $32, it should have cost me about $21, which it's still, I mean, the $11 really isn't breaking the bank. But, you know, if I see something like that and it pisses me off, maybe there's a hell of a lot more crap like that going on. Because the first thing, I don't like to order things because it's a pain in the butt sometimes if you got to send them back. So I called every Sears parts distribution center that I could drive to within an hour and a half, because I'd be willing to, to spend the money in gas, to drive there and back just to have the parts in my hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if I would have been there, I may have realized they were giving me 2 of the same part numbers, and one of them just had that extra bag. I was like, now, you know what? You could take that one back and give me another one of the $4.62 ones. I'll take that. Thank you very much. Anyway.
Nice.
Then after that, the condensation pump on my AC decided to go.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my God.
So it was never ending here. But that was another story. But that was like, one was one weekend and one was the next weekend. So, and those both ended up being projects. But hey, you want to know something? It was all good with the pump. That was all good because
there you go.
It's a pump.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, let's hit these birthdays then real quick. Today's a big birthday. Everybody, if you can, wish Holly Wilson a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Holly.
Happy birthday, Holly. Happy birthday. I didn't tweet at you happy birthday because you're getting a live snooze
shout out.
tweet.
Yeah, shout out.
A snooze tweet is a shout out.
Then we jump all the way 8 days later to October 20th. We got 2 birthdays. Janine's birthday, Janine Fluffy J, and Geek Aaron's birthday are both on the 20th of October. So happy birthday to those 2. And then the 24th, we got Pinky's birthday. Pinky Guerrero's birthday is on October 24th. Our friend John McGivna's birthday is on the 25th of October. My friend from college who's joined us recently, Eric Anow, his birthday is October 26th. And we slide to November. November 9th is our good friend Lisa Marie Bowman's birthday as well. And that is the birthdays. And again, thanks to Laura Norman for giving out the birthdays.
Thank you, Laura. And just to be on the safe side, I might just send a tweet to Holly and say, hey, guess who just got a happy birthday shout out on the snooze?
Absolutely awesome.
Allison Wolf, her birthday is on the 24th. Just wanted to mention her. Okay. She is a girl on the dock from which movie was that? Was Swamp Shark, right? Was it Swamp Shark? Yes. Mm-hmm. So, blah, 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 blah. Where are we going to go? Did we want to talk about AOL? Or Tom Petty? Hey, Tom Petty passed away the same night as the Las Vegas tragedy. But hey, I don't think, like, one of my daughters asked me if like who Tom Petty was, and I was like, you know who Tom Petty was. And they're like, no. And then I started, I just went on YouTube and I started playing some of his music. Oh yeah, I know that song. Oh yeah, I know that song. I've heard that song. And when they looked at him, they said, yeah, he kind of looks familiar, but they knew the music. And so, like, Tom Petty, to me, has always been there. But it's almost like Tom Petty is the typical American music that you could hear in the background anywhere. You know, I know he was big all over the place. I mean, he wasn't huge like you two, but I mean, if he was big, you know, and he actually just played in Philly this summer, and I was going to go, and they say it on the radio all the time. You know, people bands come through all the time, especially when it's some of these older groups. The DJ's like, you got to go out and see him because you know you always say, I'll catch him the next time they come around, and there might not be a next time. Um, it's true.
No, I have a real quick story. It doesn't have to deal with death though. But REM, for those who know me, REM is my favorite band, and
I wouldn't have guessed.
they were doing a tour that was going to go through Maryland, Meriwether Post Pavilion out in Columbia, and they always, whenever they go on tour, they always hit Meriwether because it's one of their favorite venues, from what I've heard. And so this was, 2009, I think. So Dawn was pregnant with Noah, and it was going to be in June. It's like a couple weeks before my birthday. So I sort of hinted to Dawn that I wanted to go to an REM concert for my birthday. It's a birthday present. And she's like, okay. But then I don't think it quite clicked because the date came and I wasn't there. And so they left, and I was like, and then Dawn's like, oh, there was some misunderstanding, whatever. So we'll hit them the next time around. And then that fall is when REM decided they were going to call it quits. So could have gone, but I didn't. Yeah,
well, okay. So now we're on the subject of REM. Did they just decide that they were going to quit, or did you know, like, did anything happen? Like, is there any chance that they might reunite and come back and do something?
I mean, there's always a possibility. No, they've always wanted to go out on their own, and they went out on their own. They all decided it was time for them to go because, about somewhere in the late 90s, Bill Berry, their original drummer, who'd been with them since the beginning, he wanted to retire from the band. And he retired, and so they had to decide, well, we're going to continue on as a trio. Do we feel we have some more music going on, or should we call it quits there? And then Bill was like, no, man, don't. If you want to go, keep going. So they're all still good friends, still close together. And so they went out, and then they kept going for a while longer, and then they called it quits on their own. However, they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a couple years ago, and they all came back, and they even got Bill Berry to come back, and they all did a set at the concert they had for the Hall of Fame people. So they could conceivably come back together. It's a possibility, but I think right now, I think they've done enough. I mean, they've been around since '81, I think was their first year, and that's a long time. I mean, yeah, you've got bands like Rolling Stones and stuff like that been going on for longer, but for some people, it's like, okay, I think we're done. We'll see what happens, but they're still close, and you know, occasionally one or two of them might do something together. Like the two guitarists have joined up another band to play a few little concerts here and there, but nothing serious about that. So
yeah, so there was no big falling out or anything like that. It's just like, yeah, I think there's nothing else we can do with, yeah.
Yeah, they were done, I think, and it was funny. The one big rumor always was, before Bill Berry decided to retire, one of the rumors was that they were going to play one last concert on December 31st, 1999, and then January 1st, 2000, they were going to disband. It was just something they had thought about, but then they said, you know what, the money's good still, so we're going to keep going. And so they still, I mean, they might not have been making what they made in the early 90s when they were one of the biggest bands in the world, but they were still making some good money, and Warner Brothers was still willing to throw money at them. So it's like, hey, why not? Let's take the money and let's make some music.
So the long and the short of it is, if you got a chance to go see a band, see them, because you don't know, and unfortunately you might not be around, you know. You know, I mean, like, that would be the ultimate. Yeah, I'll catch them the next time that they come into town. You know.
Hey, you know what? We might get a Kelly Tool sighting here because Alice Cooper's doing a concert in Baltimore on March 4th next year. So I tweeted out to him and he said he was interested in it. So he might make a Kelly Tool sighting coming up. Actually, I think he was in Washington lately. So hi, Kelly, if you're watching.
Okay, so I'm going to say this because Myrna's not watching. Myrna, last week we tweeted at you and we said it's next week. It was supposed to be last week and it's this week. So now I get a DM from Myrna. Really, where's the link? When is your next news? And I said, now. Really? Where's the link?
Oh, but real quick, while getting back just real quick on the topic we were talking about real quick. Yeah, in Frederick, we had the corn maze. We had, there was one, these guys do really elaborate ones for the election with, I guess, in 2012, when it was Obama and I forget who he was running up against. They made McCain. Yeah, they made the corn maze the two of their faces, so you had both of their faces like face to face at each other. They even did, and Scotty would like this. They did a Taylor Swift one a couple years ago, also.
Oh no, it wasn't McCain? Was it the guy from Utah, Romney?
No, I think it was McCain. I think Romney was the guy, or was McCain they did the first time? It might have been Romney last time. Whoever it was. But yeah, then they did Taylor Swift, and the funny thing was, in order to escape the maze, you had to answer questions about Taylor Swift, and it would tell you which direction to go in.
Yeah, and then that's where you need Scott McDonald to get you out of the maze. Yeah, no, I would not even attempt. I would not even attempt that. Yeah. So, another thing in this news that happened this week, and we, we're trying to get right to the controversial topics here at the SNews because this is real news, not fake news. But earlier this week, AOL decided to shut down their instant messenger, okay, which is fondly known as AIM, and it was probably one of the most used parts of AOL. And Yahoo, I don't know if Yahoo still has their instant messenger, but they copied that almost to the T, because there was a Yahoo instant messenger and there was a Microsoft instant messenger, and at one point I think you could actually chat with people across platform, which was cool, but that came later on. But here goes the question based on that. Did you ever have an AOL account?
I never did. I never really was into computers at all, really, to be honest. It just, for whatever reason, I maybe did some video games, but never did really any instant messaging or AOL stuff.
Well, the reason I ask is because you are probably one of like 3 people in the country who didn't have an AOL account. Like, so I got into computers.
Yeah.
Was there ever any AOL discs in your house?
I'm sure there probably were. Didn't they mail them? Didn't they like always like in your mailbox?
Like sometimes like you would like buy like a pizza, and your local pizzeria would give you an AOL disc. At one point I had so many AOL discs, like I probably could have built a replica of the Empire State Building to scale, with just the AOL CDs that I had lying around. But so before there was the internet as we know it, there used to be a service that people may have heard of called CompuServe. And then there was some other services that were around also. There was one called Delphi. There was also another one that was owned by Sears called Prodigy.
Okay, I've heard of Prodigy.
Okay, now back in the olden times when we used to have horses and stuff, in order to connect to what was the the internet at its infancy, you needed something called a modem, and that you would use a phone line to connect. Now, kids, when I was your age, we used to have a telephone that had a wire coming out of it. I don't know if you could see the wire, but there used to be a wire that plugged into the phone. So we'd actually take a phone cable and plug it into our computer. And it was slow as crap. Like, forget about streaming video, forget about YouTube, forget about Netflix. That stuff didn't exist. You had to type something. It was all keyboard based. It wasn't even mouse based. And so actually, it was pretty funny because I was going to buy my first modem for my computer, and at the time, one of the best modems to have was from a company called Hayes. Okay, and I was going to buy a Hayes modem, and it was going to cost me $49.99. That was a lot of money, and it was for 2400 baud. Now, 2400 baud was slow, but it was 8 times faster than the 300 baud modem that was out before that. So I went into a place called Electronics Boutique, and I was going to buy it. And Electronics Boutique is still around.
Oh, is it really? Ah.
Yeah, it's called GameStop now.
Oh, is it? Okay, I know GameStop. Okay.
But Electronics Boutique used to be able to go in there, and they sold peripherals for computers, and they also sold computer software, and it used to come on these things called floppy disks. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing about floppy disks was they weren't so floppy, you know? Like, you always wonder, but like if you actually open the thing up, the piece of magnetic stuff that was in there was kind of like a tape from a cassette thing, except it was formed into a roundy thing. Anyway, I was going to buy this modem for $49.99, and right next to it on a shelf was the Prodigy software. And the Prodigy software came with the same Hayes 2400 baud modem that they were selling for $49.99. It was a no-brainer. I bought the Prodigy for $29.99. And that's how I got started into the world of computing. And then I graduated from Prodigy to AOL because AOL was better than Prodigy, you know, after several years. And then I got rid of AOL altogether, and I was just using a dial-up until I got better stuff. But it was AOL and AOL Instant Messenger. I never spent too much time on Messenger, but they were also one of the first places where you could actually like exchange photos and then like do video chats. So that was the precursor to what we're doing right now. So it was really cool at the time, and it worked pretty good even on dial-up. And now, you know, everything that we have now is built on that technology. So I just thought it was worth mentioning that, you know, hey, we got here, we had to get through AOL first, and it's going away. So if you're one of those perverts that used to hang out in one of those chat rooms,
bet.
You know.
No, I think my stepdad was more the computer guy, so I really didn't focus too much on that, but I knew about dial-up, I knew about modems, and I knew about the floppy disks as well. So, but I very rarely was on the internet all that much, and it just didn't interest me as much. And I know there's a lot of people out there that it does. And then I guess once things started rolling with, you know, broadband or whatever you want to call it, and now we have what we have now.
Yeah, no, I like to tinker with the stuff, and it was like there used to be something called bulletin board systems, BBSs, and actually there's still some of them out there that still exist, and I think you can connect to them. There's some places I know that you can only connect to via phone line, so you have to have a modem, you know. And now some of these places are repositories for things that are illegal. uh, or somewhat on the verge of being legal, like software and stuff, and use your imagination to what you can find out there. But I mean, there's a lot of dial-ups where you can download software that you shouldn't really be running unless you pay for it. But you might be able to, download it from someplace for free and run it. I don't like to do that stuff because, hey, everybody's got to eat, and if you spent your time and you broke your back writing code, and you got a mortgage to pay, if I need your software, I'll pay for it. I'm not gonna make you lose your job and shit. So that's the way I feel.
Oh, absolutely. Me too. I always get, it's not quite the same, but I always get on people who like to pirate movies, movies that just come out in the movie theater. There are those websites you can go to where you can download films that are out in movie theaters now and watch them from your phone or your computer or whatever. And there's someone I work with who I like to razz on about them doing that all the time. And I agree. I don't like that. I think you need, if you're you need to pay for something, you pay for something. That's why it's called piracy. It's not a good. It's not a good word. It's a bad word. It's a bad word. Piracy.
Yeah. No. I know some people that have thousands and thousands of I don't want to say ill-gotten gains, but they've got stuff, and there's some people that just like to collect things because they're kind of like hoarders. And like they've got stuff like, you're never going to watch that movie. I'll get around to, yeah, you're really going to watch The Notebook? No, you're not. You're not going to watch that movie. Okay, I've never seen that movie, and it's played in this house at least 20 times. I know they own the CD, but it's one of those movies where if they're flicking channels and it happens to be on, boom, it's being watched, and I'm out of the house, But yeah, it was the precursor to everything, and a lot of the things that we're doing now, it's because of stuff that AOL was doing back in the day. So I haven't used it in, I want to say maybe 15, 20 years. I mean, it's been that long. AOL is around that long. And they're still there. But
it's always sad though when something that used to be the big thing and set up everything that we're dealing with now. I mean, you could even go so far back as tape, albums to tapes to CDs, and now to digital, and then same thing with DVDs and stuff like that. You go VCR tapes to DVDs to Blu-rays. I mean, it's always kind of sad when, they mentioned just earlier this year that Japan is no longer making VCRs anymore. So the VCR is going away, and it's always kind of sad because that was always that was like the big thing. Everybody needed to have a VCR, but now it was DVD and the Blu-ray player. Now it's digital and streaming now is the big things. But you can't get from A to B you can't get to D without going through A, B, and C first. So it is always sad when something like that happens.
My uncle, I love to tell the story. My uncle was a doctor, and back, I want to say in the mid 70s, okay, he had the first VCR I ever saw. Okay, the thing was twice the size of this box. Okay, and it was a top loader. And again, kids, getting back to the wires, it had a remote control that had wires that were about 20 feet long. So you could control the thing from the comfort of your chair. Okay. And I think at the time, the box cost something like $1,200. And for the amount of money that you could buy that VCR, you could probably have purchased a car. It may have been a Japanese car, but you could have almost bought yourself a new car for what he paid for that DVR. The last VCR we bought, okay, I think it came with a 15-inch color TV, and not only did it have a VCR built in, but it also had a DVD player, and I think we paid $29.99 for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it, just to give you an idea of technology and stuff. But and we're in no way saying that AOL is responsible for the loss of the vinyl 8-track cassette CD business, or any of the VHS or Betamax wars that used to happen. But again, AOL being the precursor, and it's like you said, it's sad when you see something go away. I mean, but as far as music goes, it's funny. I think they announced this week, or it may have been late last week, that I think next year Paul McCartney is going to re-release his catalog on vinyl. And each one of his records is going to be on a different colored vinyl. So I think it's like 8 to 12 different. One of them is a live 2 album set, so it's going to have 2 discs in it, and I think each disc is going to be a different color. But each one of his albums is coming out. His post-Beatle work, obviously, but his whole catalog. So Paul McCartney and Wings, all of that stuff is, and there are people that love vinyl, and they swear it's the only way to listen to music. I don't know. I used to like cassettes myself. I think I like cassettes better than CDs. But I mean, they do say that you do lose some in the compression that they use for digital recordings, and I'll tend to agree. But as I get older and my ears stop working the way they used to when I was 21, I won't hear the difference. So.
Yeah, I mean, vinyl is coming back. I mean, it's crazy seeing, stores pop up in the mall and stuff like that are selling vinyl records, or you go to like these, DVD, type stores that also have CDs, but then they also have like a whole section of vinyl. My mom found a whole bunch of my stepdad's vinyl records that she's going to probably try to trade up and sell, and might make some good money off them, because there's a lot of people who are going crazy for vinyl right now.
I've got a couple of milk crates of vinyl, and a lot of the stuff that I have is first edition rock and roll albums and stuff, and some of them are barely playable because I wore them out, I don't have a turntable, nothing to play them on. And the funny thing is, just like anything else, the technology first comes out and it's expensive, but as time goes by, the technology gets cheaper. But there were always high-end turntables. Like one of the big brand names in turntables used to be Techniques. I don't know if they still are in the audio, because I used to be into spending money on audio devices when I was younger, and then when you have kids, you don't spend money on shit anymore. Especially when they're in college. Yes. But it's amazing, because I don't think you can go out and buy yourself a cheap turntable. Even your most basic, inexpensive turntable probably run you at least $100, I'm guessing.
No, something right, yeah.
But some of these audiophiles, got to have the Techniques with the thing and the thing and the thing, and the diamond needle crap. Like a needle will cost you $20, $30, to play it. It's pretty much insane.
It is, absolutely. Yep.
All right. So, I know a lot of people who have old VCRs. I wonder if Myrna has an old VCR. I'm guessing she may. But Myrna also likes to keep rocks in her shoes, so she thinks that's what Italians do, and Italians don't put rocks in their shoes. So I did not enjoy myself last Saturday. I did not.
Yeah, it's just there's something off. I don't know. Go ahead.
Well, there's 2 reasons. One, the movie sucked ass, and we're talking about House of the Witch. I mean, was it just me, or was there a story there, and were they telling it properly, or were they not telling the story properly, or was it just a shitty story?
They weren't telling the story properly. I mean, the basic theme was that this witch needed their bodies to regenerate herself, basically. And they didn't really do a good job of conveying that. I mean, yes, because normally what it would appear is like, oh my God, she just tore out his spleen or tore his neck out or took a finger or whatever. It's like, okay, that's just a horror trope. It's what's happening. And then we realize, oh wait, she's using it to, regenerate herself into the form she was in before, to go wreak havoc again or to live again or something. Again, wasn't very clear about that.
The other reason that I did not enjoy the movie was because the movie sucked ass so much, I wanted to rip it apart. Unfortunately, half of the people that were tweeting during the movie were the director, the producer, and 3 or 4 members of the cast. And I say this all the time. If somebody in my house is watching a shitty Lifetime movie, someone will make a comment like, really? She's going to say, listen, you can't blame the actress for the words coming out of her mouth in a movie. Why? Because someone wrote those words. Okay. That person is just saying the words they're told to say. Okay. The actors in the movie that we saw were just saying the words they were told to say. At one point, the girl who was the main character, the one who looked like the girl that was the picture on the mantle, was doing something. She was looking at the chair because she saw the chair come to life and she had been screaming. And in the background, you see 3 of the cast members are just like staring at the wall behind her. Like one of them was like moving and pointing at things, but they were just standing there. I was like, why are they just standing there with their backs turned, doing absolutely nothing? Like, they didn't have to be there. And if they had to be there, they should have been at least animatedly talking to each other or doing some stuff. But it was just, it was bad. I mean, it was like this. It shouldn't even go on Netflix. Like Netflix should like go nowhere near it. And I mean, it's, as soon as I saw it and when they went into the house and the house started to ooze, I was like, are they doing House of Bones? Is that what this is? That was my first thought. And then, okay, then the witch appeared and I started to get it. And near the end of it, like I fell asleep for about 15 minutes and I woke up and I was nowhere more lost than when I fell asleep. But I mean, I was slowly putting it together and I was like, but like, is that what's real? Like, I like when you can come to the realization when you're watching a movie and not when you kind of come to a realization and you're really not sure. And that's the way the movie kind of, spoiler alert, that's the way the movie kind of ends, where the main character, the girl who looked exactly like the ghost in the picture, is walking away from the house. And you assume, because of the way she's walking and stuff, that this isn't really the girl, this is the witch.
That's what
that's what your takeaway was. Okay, so now my question is, how long was this witch in this house? And she had to wait until 2017 before she could leave. Like, she couldn't figure this shit out before then. It just, that, and the fact that if this house was empty for that long, like there was some kind of weeds and stuff growing up around the house, but that shit should have been taller than I am.
Yeah.
I
mean, they went so far as to say the line is that there was someone who tried to mow the lawn to make it look good, and the police officers came and told them to go away. I mean, they made that comment. Well, you're absolutely right. If he didn't mow the lawn, then why the hell did it look like it was mowed?
Yeah.
Well, the good news is, maybe not good news, but we got 3 more Maybe The Sandman, which is on Saturday, will be better. I doubt it, but we'll see. And then I don't remember the other ones, like Never Hear or Can't Hear or something like that. And then there's another one at the end. So there's 3 more coming, and we'll give it one more shot, I guess, and see how it is on Saturday. So, I mean, hopefully it'll be better. You know, they sometimes get some good ones out on Halloween.
Um, they're they've done better than this. I mean, I haven't. My kid got me to start watching Gotham again, and I watch it when I can. Sometimes, like I was watching it before the show tonight, and I missed the last 11 minutes. It's on my DVR, and I'll pick it up and I'll see the end. But, you know, the kid is totally into the comic book movies and stuff. So when she was home on one of her breaks, she got me into watching it again. Like I watched the stuff that I missed. And let's see, Stickman is next. Not Sandman is next, like you said. The 21st is Stickman. As a child, when Emma was wrongly accused of murdering her sister, she knew the Stickman committed the crime. Years later, although she has her demons under control, the Stickman returns to wreak havoc. This sounds like
the one that was last year, right?
It almost sounds like the Boogeyman movie with what's his name, the guy from the guy who makes the shirts. What's his name? Eddie. What the hell is this? And that's as far out as it goes on their website, and I'm not going to go any further into the future.
Yeah, I mean, I just know they showed an ad for the next 4 weeks, and during this past Saturday. So there's going to be, I think, 3 more at least. So.
Eddie McClintock. Eddie McClintock.
Okay.
The Boogeyman, right? That's the movie he was in.
Yeah, it sounds similar to that one. Yeah.
And there was another. See, I don't want to say the Wicker Man, but there was something similar to that where the ghost or the spirit looked like a tumbleweed type thing. Or was that the Boogeyman? Am I confusing my movies?
No, there was one, I think, last year that had like the Jaggedy Man or the Wiggity Man or something like that. I know which one you're talking about. I think that's the one you're thinking of. So there's kind of similar ones. I mean, and yes, Myrna, the Sandman, from what I've known, is a new one, a new movie that Sci-Fi is doing. I haven't heard of it. I don't know if you have, Tony, or not. Have you seen?
I haven't seen anything, but I mean, we can take a quick look at the synopsis. I didn't even look at the previews. A monster from a little girl's nightmares comes to life and attacks anyone who would harm her. So this sounds almost like a reverse Nightmare on Elm Street type thing. It's interesting though, because the movie last week, this movie, and the movie next week seems like the main character is a girl, which is not something that's typical of sci-fi. Not that it's not typical of horror and this genre of film, but it seems like that's what they're going for specifically. Scream, it was Sydney, right? And I Know What You Did Last Summer but those are slasher films, so I guess it's better to have a girl in a slasher film. Nightmare on Elm Street.
The original one was a girl also.
Right. Yeah, the main character. All of the Halloween movies was Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
So hey, I guess that's normal. Where I guess maybe Sci-Fi was doing things wrong then every year by having a group, yeah, I mean, I kind of like when they have a cast where somebody isn't singled out and you have to figure out who's gonna make it and
Right.
stuff. But uh, you know, hey, I'm probably not doing anything better. Uh,
Just
yeah,
besides.
I might have to wash my hair or take a shower on Saturday night. And, it could be one of those. If um if the whole cast is out tweeting like they were last weekend, it may put a damper on things. But one of the things that really struck me was that there was nobody tweeting. And I think that the reason that nobody was tweeting, I mean, I saw a bunch of Snark Alex and I saw a couple of strange people out there and I saw um, cast members and stuff, but um, there wasn't the large volume of people tweeting that sci-fi used to get. And I think it's largely because they went away from uh, that and went more into the series stuff. Um, so, I mean, I don't know. Did you kind of notice that
Yeah,
it was
there
kind of
was,
like
yeah, the old days. Yeah, I mean, when they used to do one, it seemed like every Saturday there would always be, at least besides us, there would be other groups of people we hadn't seen or heard before, coming in and making comments also, and yeah, I mean, as I said, I to be honest, I only saw the one guy, the director. I didn't see the cast members myself,
well,
the director, because he liked a bunch of mine and he commented on a few of mine. But I saw some of the Snark Alex doing some of theirs.
yeah.
That was about it. But yeah, it's not as big of an event anymore. I mean, Sharknado still is, I would assume, and their Shark Week is. And I think, to be honest, was it Laura, I think, who made the comment that she wasn't going to do it because she was more into the monster sci-fi movies instead of the horror ones. So she was watching like Live PD or something
Live
like
PD,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Um, well, I'm wondering if because it seems like Chiller's having big problems and Chiller is being dropped. Like I know I'm losing Chiller. If I haven't lost it already, I'm losing it this month. And I wonder uh, if that is going to translate into maybe NBC Universal just dropping the channel altogether, or I don't know if they have more than one, monster channel. Um, I used to years ago we used to get something called Monsters, and it was great. And I used to get FearNet. I don't get FearNet anymore. So they're taking away Chiller. I'm just wondering, I almost want to say, hey, NBC Universal, get rid of Chiller and put more money into sci-fi, and if you want to have everything come under the sci-fi channel, then hell yeah, do that. Make Friday night a fright night every week and put horror movies on and because Chiller at one point was putting out some pretty decent movies. Chiller original movies. Monkey's Paw was one of them. That was a pretty damn good movie. They had a couple of others, and then they kind of got away from that too. My only problem with Chiller was I couldn't get it in high def. It was in standard definition, but other than that, it was a pretty decent channel.
yeah,
But hey, that's going away.
yeah.
And people found better things to do on Saturday nights. Wash their hair, take showers, trim their toenails. I might have to do that too.
Yeah, I think it'll be good because Dawn missed it last week because she was camping with Noah for Boy Scouts. But this weekend we've got nothing really planned, so I think she'll be interested in checking that out. So we'll probably be there, depending on what. I don't think we got anything planned for Saturday, so I think we'll be there for that. Cool.
Yeah. So my only problem is just like everything else. So my Friday nights are tied up with the football, and then the kid also has a job, so she's employed. and I may have to pick her up around 9:30ish or something like that, depending on what else is going on around here. So it kind of stinks if you're starting to watch a movie, then you got to get up and leave. And then by the time you get back, hey, if it's crappy, who cares? But if it's a decent movie, you kind of miss out. And we'll see.
Yep.
But anyway, last but not least, that we talked about AIM, we talked about Tom Petty, we talked about my refrigerator. The Star Wars trailer. Before the show, I asked Dylan if he had seen it. And so what are your thoughts? And have you heard any spoilers?
You know what? I haven't heard spoilers because I think Rian Johnson is keeping it to the vest, what he wants to do. And I think my main takeaway from it is I think he's doing a little bit of magic on us. It appears in the trailer that certain things are going to happen, and it looks like this person's going to turn bad and this person's going to turn good, or this person's going to die, this person isn't. And I think it's all magic. It's an illusion. I think he's just saying he set up the trailer that way so that when it actually happens, what you think is going to happen isn't going to happen. Like spoiler for those who haven't seen it. I mean, the end where Rey is asking for help to control the power, and she's talking to Kylo, and she reaches out, and he reaches out his hand to her. Is he really going to help her, or is this just an fancy editing and she was talking to someone else and they just edited something else? Or is Kylo going to be the one who's going to turn? Are they going to flip it so that Rey is going to be bad and Kylo's going to be good? And that's the thing. And that's maybe one of the things that maybe why the trailer is working so well, is because you honestly don't know. You get an idea, you get bits and pieces, you get to see all the main players do something cool, and then a little bit of emphasis on some of the other stuff, like particularly the emphasis on Kylo and Rey. It seemed to be where the big influences in the front, and and then you get a little bit more Mark Hamill because he was at the very end of the first one, but now he's back in a fuller capacity, and you get a little bit more Carrie Fisher since she passed away, so you're going to get people to come see that as well. But it's, to me, I mean, it's Star Wars. It's gonna do monster business. It looks really good, and right now, unlike a lot of trailers, you get a general idea of what you think is going to happen, but I think they're playing a little magic on us, and that what we think is going to happen isn't really going to happen. What about you?
Well, I had a totally different take on the trailer.
Okay.
One of the things that I took away, and I'm watching it now as we speak. I know you guys can't hear it, but I've got it on my other screen. And my take is that Rey is going through the dark cave thing that Luke had to do, where he had to face his fears.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that part of what you're seeing is what she sees when she goes into the cave. But I think impression was that Mark Hamill has aged very well, because from The Lost Hope to Return of the Jedi, he really didn't have that. He aged, definitely, but he didn't have that look of wiseness about him that he kind of has now. And I think, the juxtaposition is now that the student has become the teacher. So you can have that parallel, because I think Luke is now Obi-Wan, and maybe to a certain extent, besides being Obi-Wan, he's Yoda, because he's the only one to teach her. But one of the other ideas I had in my head was that it was there was explosions. It was a little distracting. The Last Jedi may be a trick title also, because I think possibly that the Jedi are going to evolve into something like, and I made this joke, they won't be called the Jedi anymore. They'll be called the Judo, and they'll be learning this new thing called the martial arts, where you know, um, but one of because I saw another trailer where it was just basically I saw this one, and there's another trailer out there that's shorter than this, where it just shows you Luke and Ray and things that she's doing, and it kind of makes it look almost as if the impression I got was that, again, the cave of, where you have to go in and face your fear, and where Yoda tells Luke the he says, "What's in the cave?" and Yoda says, "Only what you bring with you." So in reality, there's nothing in the cave. It's all up here. He brings his lightsaber, and Yoda tells him that you will not be needing.
And then Luke's like, "Yeah, whatever. I'm gonna take it anyway."
I'm taking it. I ain't going no place without my saber, mofo. So, yeah, but then you see, here's where I made the mistake. The trailer was playing, and I was kind of watching it, but I was doing something on my computer, and I was kind of watching it, and I guess my kid has a rule that says turn off autoplay in YouTube. So the next video that came up was full of spoilers, because apparently the whole story's out there of everything that's going to happen. And I caught a little bit of it, and it almost sounded plausible. And then I started watching it a little bit, and then I said, what the hell am I doing? I don't want to know this stuff, because even if it's true, I don't want to know it. And if it's not true, I don't want to have my judgment clouded by, kind of like by thinking I know what the hell is going to happen, and that's what's going to happen. Kind of like when I said someone was going to die on The Walking Dead, and everybody told me I was wrong. I don't want to know. I'd rather find out with you. And besides the comic book movies, Star Wars is something that you have to go to the movies and enjoy the first time. The story is bigger than life. The scenes are bigger than life. What's going on in the scenes is bigger than life. I don't want to see the Death Star on a screen that's only 17 inches. It does add a sense of size when you see the Death Star on I mean, I don't know how big the screens are in a movie theater, but you need to see the Death Star on a big giant screen, because when you see the Death Star on a big giant screen, the Millennium Falcon looks like it's about the size, of an 18-wheel truck, depending on where they're showing you the view from. And to get the sense of scale, it helps when it's just so much bigger.
Absolutely. I agree.
But my big fear, or my what I'm afraid of, is how they're going to treat the death of Carrie Fisher, because apparently she's got a major role in this movie, and unless they kill her off the way they killed off her ex-husband, the great Han, there's going to be a lot of, not that I have a problem with CGI, but I just want it to be done right, because she is loved, and it would be horrible if they did it wrong. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's just my feeling of that. But other than that, I can't wait. I will never say, I mean, hey, there's some scenes and some of the movies I didn't like as much as I like the other ones, but I watch them all. And, and whenever anybody tells me, you like that Phantom Menace? I'm like, yeah, it wasn't so bad, except, my whole problem with the first three movies is Jar Jar Binks. Get rid of that. Get rid of him, And he's like, but Anakin was a whiny little bitch. And Luke Skywalker was a whiny little bitch in the first movie.
Yeah, I agree with you. Phantom Menace to me is a lot better than a lot of people think it is. And if you just sort of not zone out, but just sort of get around the Jar Jar Binks thing, there's actually a really interesting story in there. And then Darth Maul is one of those Boba Fett-esque characters that, you wish was in it more and is badass about it. And then what killed me was then Attack of the Clones comes, and I did not like Attack of the Clones as much. Now, the part I did like was Obi-Wan being a detective, going and trying to figure out what's going on with the clone army and stuff like that. But the whole Padme Anakin love story, I didn't buy it, and that sort of pissed me off about Attack of the Clones. And then Revenge of the Sith is dark, man. It's one of those that is dark and vicious and evil, and you know what? That's exactly what's supposed to do.
I'm gonna agree with you 1,000,000%. In Attack of the Clones, I think, and I'll tell you what my problem with the storyline is, but some of the best scenes in all of the Star Wars movies is when Anakin and Obi-Wan are out there fighting back to back, and the banter that they're having, like in the middle of the fights, it seems natural. It seems like there's real camaraderie there, and those scenes made me like Anakin. And here's my problem with the storyline. The story where it's Anakin's mother that causes him to want to help people and turn away from doing the things that he knows he's supposed to do, and therefore going in and killing all the kids, does not make sense to me. Does that make sense to you? Like, it's like there's no justification for doing greater evil. Like what purpose are you serving? Like, even though, like, in your mind, like, you think you're not. Like, you're killing kids. And for me personally, I couldn't see any kind of justification for him doing. There was no rational justification for him doing what he was doing.
It was sudden. I mean, in Revenge of the Sith, you can see the Emperor working his magic on Anakin to try to get him over there because of Anakin's fear of death and stuff like that, and he's able to play on that. And then when Samuel L. Jackson's Mace Windu has got him like cornered, is getting ready to kill him, and Anakin walks in on this, and the Emperor's like, "Please help me," and then Anakin just all of a sudden is like, "Okay," and then he ends up chopping off Mace Windu's arm and knocking him out the window. It seemed out of left field for me, and I agree with that. And then from that point on, it's like, okay, you gotta show how evil I am. Let's go kill some kids too. You were absolutely right. There is no justification for it. It was just sort of like, well, we have to get him to be evil so that him and Obi-Wan have their big battle and he turns into Darth Vader. But there was no moment. There was no moment of, why am I doing this? It was just, oh, he's attacking the Emperor, and I feel slighted from what they told me that I wasn't a master, so I'm going to get my revenge on him and get him out of the way. And then, okay, you know what? I'm going to be a bad guy now. Okay, you want me to kill some kids? I'll do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so, and it didn't. I mean, they could have come up with some better justification and a better way of getting him in there. But I think what's going to happen if they draw parallels, because in each of the trilogies we've had someone that had to be brought into the Force, and every time somebody comes into the Force, there is that certain point where that tipping point where they either go to the dark side or stay true. And Anakin came to that point. We saw him from his beginning. We saw him get to that point, and we saw him go to the dark side. Don't like the way he got there, but we saw him become Darth Vader. But then at the end of the second trilogy, or the first trilogy, depending on how you want to look at it, Darth Vader returns. Okay. And all is good. We're probably going to see the same thing with Rey here. Okay. She's introduced to the Force. Luke is going to be her mentor, and he's got to get her to that point where she's either going to go to the dark side or stay true. And that's why I think that's where I got my impression, because, you know, it's a very simple parallel for you to see. You know, she becomes aware of the Force and that she can do things. And, you know, now she's going to Luke, and he's actually going to train her. But I think there's another thing that may happen, because, I mean, it's out there and everybody's been talking about it, but everybody is saying that Luke must be her father. Okay, and I think that would probably be something that we're going to find out in the next movie, and how she reacts to that. Because for all intents and purposes, if he is her father, he was an absentee dad, and he probably owes a lot of child support. And how is she going to handle that if he is in fact her father? And like, how is she going to handle that? And could that be the thing that potentially could push her to the dark side? The other thing that we don't know, and they talked, but why is Kylo Ren where he is now? You know, how did he get to where he is? We don't know, because he's already there at the dark side. So I'm wondering whether or not we're going to see some of that backstory through Leia to see, you know, what happened. Was it her splitting up from Han, you know, that pushed him? Was he already going that way? We don't know all of that story yet, too. So I'm wondering if they're going to, you know, give us all that info in the next movie.
I found Kylo's story to be really interesting in Force Awakens, because he's not your typical evil Darth Vader type. He's a wannabe, but at the same time, and Han pointed out also, he can tell that the conflict was going on, and Kylo, though he's more angled towards the dark side, he still has that lingering good in him, and he's at constant battles with it. And so that's sort of what happened. I personally still think, and I think we talked about this when the movie came out, Force Awakens came out, I still think that Han Solo killed himself. I think Kylo could not kill him, but in order to move, you know, to have Kylo, you know, move to where he needs to go, maybe even get him closer to the good side, something need to give. And it was Han as his dad, you know, saying, I got to do this for you to help you out, and gets himself killed, because, you know, Kylo in that scene with Han is like, I need your help. You have to help me. He was definitely having some sort of problem, and Han's trying to convince him, and that's the only way he could do it. And then when he goes out and meets up with Rey and gets totally trashed, I don't think he was completely all there. And then when we've been seeing in the trailers is him smashing his helmet and possibly hesitating and destroying the ship that he knows his mother is in, and also reaching out to Rey in some form or another. So I think Kylo's story is going to be a very interesting one to watch. And there's also possibly a possibility that maybe his and Rey's story are going to parallel each other, and they're going to have these little crossovers here and there, and eventually things are going to work out. Because if she is indeed Luke's daughter, that makes him her cousin. You know, Kylo's her cousin. You know, and you've got that family bond going, and that's and there was always something seemed to be between them, because he always seemed to know about her. He had some sort of sense about her, like he'd seen her before, knew her before. So it's really interesting, and I think it should be really cool to see what's going on. But to me, I think Kylo's story, I think, is going to be really interesting to see where he goes with that as well.
So how does that explain why Kylo is running around with his creepy grandfather's faceplate helmet thingy?
No, but I'm just saying though, because let's face facts. He knows the story. He knows at one time Anakin was good, then he was bad, and then he was good again. Now, is he trying to emulate the bad side? And that's what you got from Force Awakens. He was trying to somehow talk to his grandfather and say, "Hey, I need your help to make me evil." Even though inside him, he might not be fully evil. I need you to do that. But you also got to remember, Anakin Darth still had the good and eventually was turned back to the good side in Return of the Jedi when he saw, his son getting totally destroyed by the Emperor. And it just something clicked in his head. And that's just one of the great turning points in the movie, is that there's something clicked in his head. So maybe, he wants to grasp onto, because he wants to be the dark side so bad, but he just can't.
Well, see, the deal is, don't go around kill your daddy, unless you got some bad crap in you. But I can't wait for the movie, obviously, and it's not going to be that far off. I'm also looking forward to the Han Solo movie, which is allegedly in all sorts of disarray and stuff because of, the directors quitting and all this other stuff that we're hearing about it. So the funny thing is, though, about these movies now is the actual filming is what takes the shortest amount of time. It's all the other stuff that they have to do with the CGI stuff and the models or that part of the movie being put together, which takes the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it is funny because they can film for 2 weeks and get everything that they need from the actors done, for the most part, and then take a year to do the rest of the stuff. And then after they get all that down, then they have to work on the sound or whichever way they do it. I'm not sure, but like I said earlier, my big concern is how do they handle the Leia storyline. And again, she may not have so much of a big story leading into the last movie, but I would think that, if Star Wars is going to remain true to what they normally do, we're going to see at least another main character die within the next 2 movies, and it could be Luke or it could be Leia, and I'm leaning more towards it would be Luke that's gone, a la Obi-Wan. Hey, guess what? Another parallel there to the previous 3 movie set. So I can't wait. There's a lot of stuff coming out. Like Justice League is coming out in November. I'll probably see that with the kid. And then both of the girls want to see the new Star Wars when it comes out. And they're like, Dad, we're going to do what we did last time, right? And so when The Force Awakens came out, it actually snowed the night before. Not a lot. Like there was basically a coating of snow, but it was the type of morning in December where it was kind of cold and it looked kind of snowy outside. So not a lot of people were on the road. We stopped at the bagel place. We had breakfast sandwiches and stuff. And then we went right into the movie at like 9:45. There was nobody in there. Okay. And it was the opening weekend, but there was nobody in the theater. Maybe 20 people tops, and it was awesome, because it was nice and quiet and stuff.
We did it on a New Year's Day because we waited for a while. The movie The Force Awakens came out like the 18th or something like that, December, and we didn't get it opening weekend. We had to get through Christmas and all the stuff. We had to deal with that with the family and all that stuff. And then eventually we came to the point where we got everything done, and we all our schedules came together. I was like, you know what? Let's go see Star Wars now. So we actually waited a couple weeks before, after the movie came out to see it. So we saw it on New Year's Day, and that was kind of good. I liked doing that also. I mean, we might do something similar like this time, or we might see it even before then. We'll have to wait and see where things go. But my daughter's interested in seeing it. My son, not so much. He's not as big as a fan of it as my daughter is. But we'll definitely it's definitely worthwhile to see in the movie theater, and I agree with you on that end. You got to see that, and like the superhero movies in there, and there might be a few other ones here and there you can see, but there are also a lot of ones you can just say, you know what, I'll wait for it to be on DVD or Netflix or whatever, and pick that up.
Well, it's funny because the older one has seen all the Star Wars movies multiple times. I actually made her watch them in the order in which they were released.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was asking questions. I said, no, let's watch them in the order in which they were released. So we watched 4, 5, and 6, and then we watched 1, 2, and 3. And then she saw 7. But then we watched them in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think you have to watch them in the order in which they were released, because you don't need to know what happened before. It makes the movie better if you don't know what happened before. If you don't know that Anakin is Darth Vader and Luke's father until you get to the right moment when it's revealed, but I mean, right now, everybody knows that Darth Vader is Luke's father. You know what I mean?
Yes, but you're absolutely right. But when we find out in Revenge of the Sith that Padme had twins and they're going to call them Luke and Leia, and then we watch The New Hope and, oh, here's a character named Luke and here's a character named Leia. It must be related, but it's not even mentioned in A New Hope. And then Empire, it's still one of the, if you want to call it, one of the greatest moments in cinema history. It's one of the things that nobody was expecting, because it was 1980. The internet was not even around, or if it was very, very beginning, stuff like that. There wasn't the constant 24/7, not a lot of spoilers, and so no one knew what was going to come. And then when it came, it was almost like a gut punch to everybody. But it was like, holy God. And it's one of those memories that you're always going to have. So I feel that if someone has never seen the Star Wars movies, via your younger kids, because they weren't around when it happened, but when they get to be old enough to see Star Wars, you should show them the original trilogy first, 4, 5, and 6, because then they'll have the same gut punch reaction to, oh my God, Darth Vader's Luke's father. But if you watch 1, 2, and 3 first, you already know. And then when it happens, it's like, well, duh, we already know that.
Well, so we made, we tied her down and forced her. We made the little one watch Star Wars before we went to see Rogue One. And she said, why do I have to watch this movie? I said, you have to watch this movie first. She just, she sat and watched Star Wars with us. Okay. Then we went to go see Rogue One. And then we kind of had to explain to her, it's like, like the way Star Wars starts with Leia on the spaceship and she gets captured and all you hear is the breathing, but you don't see what's going on. Okay. This is what happened at the end of that movie. Where this movie ends, that one picks up right from that spot, and it kind of clicked with her, because to her, watching that movie, when she saw it, the movie wasn't about the plans for the Death Star. It was about this character here and that character there, and are they going to kiss? Was all she cared about. You know what I mean? But I mean, she followed along with it, and I mean, she's not dumb. She's 16. She understood the movie, but she's also a 16-year-old girl, so she's looking for the romance story, not necessarily, the guys shooting the. And some people don't like Rogue One, and I'm like, What's not to like? You know, what's not to like? That movie fits in perfectly. Like, you can cram that movie in as exactly what they said it was going to be, a standalone movie in that universe that is part of the story. But it's one of those things, if you never saw it, if they never made that movie, you wouldn't need to know about it. But it is referenced. Many people died to get you these plans, So,
Yep.
all right. So, what do we have coming up for the next issue of this news? By then, we'll be out of October.
And we'll be in Walking Dead territory. Walking Dead comes back the 22nd.
The 22nd.
10 days from now. Yep. So I was looking at a calendar. November 8th would give us, I'm sorry, November 9th, excuse me. November 9th would give us 3 episodes under our belts of the new season.
Okay. So,
or do you want to go to 4 and make it the 16th?
When is Thanksgiving?
Because, Thanksgiving is on the 23rd.
The 23rd.
23rd. I think the 9th would be good because there is another Thursday, which is the 2nd. But I think to give us a couple episodes to discuss of Walking Dead would be good. About 3 of them would be nice. That we get a general idea of where they're going to be going with the season.
I want to try something.
Okay.
Okay. And let's see. Da-da-da. I'm going to see what happens if I add you as a guest to my calendar event that I am creating now.
Okay.
And let's see. Okay, and let's see. Find a time. I am going to go down here because one screen is behind the other. I have to. And let's see if we can. Let's go right there. And let's do that.
Okay.
Okay, and so now. Dun, da, da, dun, da, da. Okay, so. Da da da. Okay, and save. So hopefully, if this works, it should be on your calendar also for November 9th. If you use Google Calendar, that is.
I don't, but okay.
Well, if you have a, do you have a Gmail? Actually,
I don't look at it. I don't look at Gmail. I use my
well, because it goes to your email address anyway. So okay. It's got to put it on a calendar for you somewhere. I don't know if it's going to send you a reminder, but it's definitely on the calendar.
No,
yeah.
Cool.
So we'll have a couple of Walking Dead things. We may have a couple of movies to talk about, and anything else that comes up between now and then.
Yep. We can talk about some of the other sci-fi movies that are any good. Thor Ragnarok will be out like the 3rd, so that.
Yeah, it is. It gets to that. It gets to that. When we get into November and December, we get to the what I call the holiday movie season, and there's at least 2 or 3 big movies coming out, and there might be more. The movie that's coming out now that they want to see is Happy Death Day, which is coming out tomorrow, and so I know I'll end up going to see that. So anyway, yeah. So Myrna is watching the snooze, and she's watching this Ghost Wars thing or whatever with all these other people. So she's not really watching the snooze. So I think we should just boot her. Anyway, so November 9th will be the next news, and that's a wrap.
Yep.
So it's been great, Dill. Tell Dawn I said hi and give the kids kisses, and I will see you next month.
All right. See you guys.
Before you go, what's going on with Dylan Knows?
I I haven't figured out yet. It's going to be sometime this weekend. It won't be Saturday night. It'll probably be back on Sunday again at 12:30, depending. I'm going to have to chat with MJ, see if he might be able to do it, because we couldn't do the comic show last week because he was moving into his new office, so he couldn't do it then. And Jerry and I don't even have an idea for a top 10 yet, so we got to start thinking about that. So it'll either be MJ and I on Sunday at around 12:30, or I'll be going solo again.
Alrighty. With that, good night, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Happy Halloween.
Bye.